to bring you some information. I was just discussing with the Lord information about South African whites that are being slaughtered by the blacks right now. Since the ANC took over the so-called multicultural group, which is a Marxist liberal campaign to kill the whites, actually. In South Africa, it is popular now to sing "Kill the Boer." The Boers are white. The white farmers that came in to Africa, I don't know, 300 years ago or something, from the Netherlands, I believe, and established their own white church, established the entire nation that they built up strong in South Africa. It used to be the leading nation in Africa. As a continent, it used to be the wealthiest, most productive, and it was ruled by whites. The blacks had their place, and they were kept in their place by apartheid. The blacks were not ruling. The whites were ruling. The whites, during the time of apartheid, were in the majority position. And forgive me, I need to research more. If I'm giving you information that I don't know about, please feel free to correct me. But my understanding so far is that the whites imposed a system of presenting passes that the blacks had to present to get to work, I believe. And this pass system was offensive to some blacks, and they got it overruled. That pass system was part of apartheid. When apartheid came down, the entire system came down. Everybody praised Nelson Mandela, but Nelson Mandela, well, I'm not going to make any comments about Nelson Mandela. He's a man I don't know enough about to comment on at this time yet. But what the Most High told me was this. He said, apartheid in South Africa is for the blacks, Jenny. He actually said that to me. And I wrote it down so I can read it back to you. They would destroy themselves if not for apartheid. Yeah. I just wrote what the Most High told me, and I'm reading back to you. And so I have some questions for him about this, so I started doing more research. The whites are from the Hebrew tribe of Ephraim. It's a bloodline that has never left our people. And when we have ruled over the blacks, we have put them in their place, so to speak. And ever since segregation, ever since apartheid has ended in South Africa and segregation has come, desegregation, excuse me, ever since desegregation has come into America, we have had an enormous problem of black on black crime, which doesn't seem to be lessening at all. Blacks killing each other in the streets. And when there was segregation in America, the Hebrews were able to keep them in their place. Okay, the Ephraimites were able to give consequences to the blacks for their crimes. At this time, if a black kills another black, it's evil to say anything about it, because that would be considered racism. So they get away with their murders. The Ephraimites are coming back in the land, in the Lord. And I believe when that occurs, when Shiloh comes, as it is today, Shiloh has come, according to Genesis 49:10, the black race, which is Judah, the tribe of Judah, will no longer be the lawgiver in the land. The Shilohites will. Shiloh will be the lawgiver in the land. Shiloh in the Bible, throughout the scriptures, every time you see the word Shiloh, is talking about the tribe of Ephraim, which had the tabernacle originally in Shiloh, which was a town or city, a locale located in the tribe, physically the territorial area of the tribe of Ephraim. That was the original location for the Jews, all the Hebrews of every tribe, to worship in the tabernacle area. Then later on, through the Ephraimite sin, the Most High took down that tabernacle located there, and eventually there was a new temple built in Jerusalem by the tribesmen of Judah, the wonderful King David. But the Shilohites are going to have their land back again soon. And there are going to be Ephraimites who are going to rule over that land again. The lawgiver will come from that area. Now, I am still considering the fact that, well, if Shiloh is going to be the lawgiver, who's Christ going to be? That's what I'm not sure about. I'm still trying to question the Lord on this area, this particular discussion of Genesis 49:10 and its full instruction to us. But Joseph ruled over the tribesmen in North Africa, which I'm referring to Egypt. When the Hebrews came in to Egypt during the time of the famine, Joseph was the king of the Israelites in a sense, in that he was the ruler. He gave them their land. He was right-hand man to Pharaoh, and if you read what it says in the book of Jasher about what Joseph was like, he was an amazing man. He wore a golden crown on his head. Even his brothers went back to their father Jacob in Canaan land and said that this man was like the king. And they couldn't deal with his authority, really. Just in a side mark, I have been researching the building of the pyramids, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and my opinion is that it was built by Imhotep, which is another name for none other than Joseph of the Bible. And it has an empty tomb in it, an empty sarcophagus, and people have always wondered, how did that sarcophagus get emptied? And also it has a king's chamber and a queen's chamber, so both the queen's chamber is also empty. Now Joseph instructed his sons at his death to remove his bones from Egypt. When the children of Israel, through faith he understood this, would eventually be returned to the promised land by being taken out of Egypt by the Lord. So I believe that this pyramid was originally erected as a tomb to the great and mighty Joseph or Imhotep, who ruled over the Hyksos people, which Hyksos is a pagan term that gay people have given historically to what we now know to be the ruling class of Egyptians / Hebrews. They were Hebrews living in a land that was not their own, but they took over there, and they became very mighty and powerful through their knowledge, through their race, through their power, through the Most High. They brought victory to the land, and they ruled for a while until the Egyptian race decided to start oppressing the Hyksos, and then we have the biblical story of the slavery of the slavery of the Israelites imposed by the Egyptian race upon them, because they were scared they were getting too numerous and might rebel against them. But anyway, why? Because they forgot what Joseph had done for Egypt and all the land around. If you study the pyramids of Giza, you will be fascinated at what you find. The more in depth I get into this, the more fascinated I am. I mean, just have to research. I mean, there's been an enormous fascination of the white race for the pyramid of Giza for centuries, and the more they study, the more they find out. And it's weird though that the natives of Egypt are trying to a lot of people are trying to poo-poo the study of pyramidology. But a lot of European Christians have written enormous, humongous books about the mysteries of this pyramid. And one thing I found out as I studied is that the number 11 is everywhere in the pyramid. If you look at things like the measurements of the dimensions of the pyramid, who was the 11th son of Jacob? Joseph. So mathematical ease does not come easily to us, but mathematical ease was rightly divided to Joseph. So I believe that the pyramid was a strong construction of Joseph. And it might have something to say about these last days, I'm not sure. It is used by the Illuminati and the Masons as an insignia on their own, for their own benefit. I'm not sure why. Still wondering about that. I think that they derive some kind of weird power from this. I don't believe that the Pyramid of Giza is a pagan invention originally, because in the book of Maccabees, which is in the Apocrypha, which was originally included in the entire Bible in the King James Version, AV 1611, approved by King James himself, what you find is there are references to pyramids built by the Hebrews in the land of Israel as tombs for their great men, tombs for their men of war and their family members who died. So to build a pyramid is a very righteous Hebrewistic thing to do. So I believe it's a lost art. You find pyramids scattered all over the world now by the Native Americans. The mound builders had pyramids. The Aztecs or the Mayas. There are pyramids in Europe. There are pyramids in Japan. There are pyramids in Africa. There are pyramids built by so many ancient civilizations. I believe this is a contribution of the scattered Hebrew Israelites, and their knowledge that they had of pyramid building came from their ancient Hebrew forefathers, because of that reference that I read in the book of Maccabees about pyramid building as a tomb. And what they included in this tomb was a ship. It's in the scriptures. Look it up in Maccabees. They put inside the tomb a ship and a series of warlike items like weaponry was buried also with the great men that they put inside the pyramid tomb in Israel. You find in Europe, look up Hutton Soo, Hutton, capital SOO, and you will find a burial ground of a ship and weapons for the ancient men, white race, in Hutton Soo, and this is a European, I believe it is in England. So burying somebody in a ship in a pyramid with their relatives and with their weapons is a biblical thing to do, Hebrewistic thing to do. So anyway, Shalom in Christ, I believe Ephraim needs to realize their full status in the world and not be hating on the blacks or the other races who are our kinsmen. We need to be one in Christ, one as Israelites in Christ. But if we recognize Ephraimites, who our forefather Joseph really was, and look it up in Deuteronomy 33, look it up in Genesis 49 and Genesis 50, what we're supposed to be like as Ephraimites and tribesmen of Joseph, Manasseh included, it'll just blow your mind what we're supposed to be like and what our calling is in these last days. More on that to come. Shalom in Christ, y'all. Oh, and okay, for the white race, we're not supposed to be stupid and hate on the black race. We're not. I believe there is a place for apologies, and I believe apologies are necessary for apologizing to the black race, which is the tribesmen of Judah, for the sins of our white race's forefathers against them. I believe that the white race needs to let this happen for reconciliation to occur between our members. It's just amazing. I think that Hello has a lot to do with that, written by Adele. More on that to come. There's a rejection of races occurring between ourselves, and we do not need to let that happen as a people. We need to come together as a people. Shalom in Christ, y'all.